Hello, my name is Cath D'Amico, and for the past year I have been heavily involved in the project of developing a blended language program for the Trent ESL program at Trent University in Peterborough. I am the manager of the Trent ESL program, and I am also the deputy director of our international program at Trent. So today I'd like to share with you the blended language learning classroom and talk a little bit with you about the value as a teacher of being part of a project like this. So first, let me just give you an overview of my presentation. The first thing I'm going to talk about is internationalization in higher education and the future of higher education. The second stage will be talking about blended learning and higher education. And thirdly, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about the specifics of how the TESOL program was developed and how it is meant to work on a global level. And in doing so, I'll also be letting you know how it impacts your effectiveness as a language instructor. So let's think about the research. There's quite a bit of research about internationalization, especially about how it applies to higher education. There is no doubt that internationalization will continue as an integral element of higher education. We can look at the scenario here in Canada, across North America, and other parts of the world where internationalization and student mobility has really become a key element in the future planning and the strategic planning of post-secondary institutions around the world. Students are actively seeking experiential opportunities around the world. Students are looking for a global perspective. They don't want to be limited to an insular single view. They want it to be broad and dimensional. So these kinds of mobility opportunities are truly key to offering that kind of dimension to any post-secondary degree program. And in terms of internationalization and the possibilities and the opportunities, language, of course, is definitely identified as one of the key elements to mobility. So for students, for example, to come and study in an English-speaking nation, they definitely need to have the mastery of the English language to allow them to do so. So in order to implement an internationalization plan and to become a more internationalized institution, there needs to be a lot of planning and considerations to be made. One of the first is often around the reality of the political situation and international security. Safety is definitely the key element in that consideration. We want to know that students are traveling to regions that are considered safe and, of course, that have laws that allow them to be in that country to study. The next consideration is how feasible it is in terms of economics and the cost of study. So not only do we need to have countries that have policies that allow students to flow in and out of those countries, but also to consider the cost of study. And the TESOL program really addresses this beautifully, because when the cost of study is a barrier or an obstacle, the TESOL program actually facilitates language education so that the time in travel and the time abroad can be minimized and made to be very impactful in a shorter amount of time, thereby reducing the cost of study. Another consideration would be capacity and whether or not the institution can actually accommodate a larger student body or a new student body with an international perspective and international needs. We know that in order to bring international students onto campuses, you really need to have an infrastructure in place that provides the supports and systems to make those students feel at home, to give them the supports in the areas that they need to think about in terms of their immigration status, in terms of their housing, in terms of the context in which they are studying. So all of those things need to be part of the university capacity as a host university. The English proficiency is definitely a consideration, so we want to make sure that we're sending students abroad to study that have a sufficient proficiency to allow them to be successful and to benefit from the academic curriculum in which they're studying. So again, the TESOL program here allows for proficiency to be enhanced in country so that when the student is actually preparing to go abroad to study, they have that language proficiency in place and can actually focus on that academic content. Another consideration when planning on internationalization in a post-secondary institution is the idea of internationalizing the curriculum and to being able to encompass a global perspective and to also be able to respond to the global perspectives that are now existing in the classroom. So having that sense, that context, and being able to elaborate on those things and provide learning opportunities around them. The e-learning piece, which I've continued to allude to with reference to TBEL, using it as a transformative tool in the learning context and using it as a tool for mobility. And then, of course, most importantly is quality assurance and control. We want to make sure that these kinds of opportunities, these programs, these exchanges, these curricular exchanges are all good quality. It certainly isn't something that you want to do in sort of a makeshift context. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about what research is telling us about the future of higher education. We all know that things are changing. Things have already changed and things will continue to change. So we must expect that the evolution of the tools we're using to offer blended learning opportunities will continue to expand the ways in the delivery of education, in the delivery of courses, in the delivery of lessons. So the status quo is already being disrupted, and we need to anticipate that that disruption will continue as new technologies evolve, and maybe to possibly embrace them and incorporate them into your pedagogy and your delivery style. So in particular, I really want to focus on blended learning, because blended learning is the method that's embraced by TBEL. It is the method that TBEL is completely built from. Why did we go with blended learning as opposed to developing a massive online course like a MOOC or a self-directed program that would involve a student interacting directly with a computer or a device? The reason why we went for blended learning is because it is effective not only in terms of learning outcomes, but in terms of the satisfaction of the participants, both the students and the instructors. We know that unlike MOOCs, blended learning courses have the potential to increase the learning outcomes, which is really what we're after. Without these learning outcomes, there's really no benefit in engaging in the education or in the learning in the first place. So blended learning gives courses and learning that element of engagement, that direct relationship between the teacher and the student, enhanced by technology rather than being replaced by it. This idea of curricular partnerships may not be something that you are particularly concerned about as a classroom instructor or as an EAP instructor teaching English for academic purposes of various contexts. But really we need to think about the larger impact that we have as language instructors. And so what we're able to accomplish through curriculum partnerships with TBEL is that it opens up professional discourse on a global level so that instructors can compare their approaches, their philosophies on teaching and learning with their peers and counterparts in other universities around the world, which is a really rich platform for enhancing and evolving as an instructor. So not only does it enhance your classroom experience and your classroom offerings through this rich dialogue, but of course it's also modernizing your university through internationalization, and it's offering opportunities and avenues for students to really consider new opportunities and new ventures around the world. Students are happy when they feel like they have opportunities and they have a variety of options in terms of how they learn. So it helps to retain students, it helps to enhance your university, it helps to enhance the geopolitical status of your country, making you a partner around the world with other institutions. So again, we're disrupting status quo, we're trying to move things to a different level. So I've already been talking quite a bit about TEBL, which is the acronym for Trent ESL Blended English Language Learning. And at this time, we are offering a range of English for specific academic purposes courses, or ESAP. So currently, we are offering English for Business Administration, English for Computing and Information Systems, the course that you're studying right now, English for Professional Development, English for Environmental Sciences, and there are more on the roster for completion. So you may be already teaching in a Business for a English for Business Admin course or a English for Computing course, and you may already have ideas to share about how that is impacting your own ability and opportunity as an instructor, and the opportunities that you're now able to present to your students. But these courses are being taught by you on your own campus. They are not relying on a combination of videos and audio files to augment the learning. They are a collection of curated materials and materials made by our university faculty for exchange with your university and with you, so that you're able to offer these courses and contextualize them to your university. So to give you a little bit of background about why I started working on this project and how it came to be, it really is a response to that previous slide where I talked about technology disrupting the status quo and about engagement by students. We all know where students are spending their time. They're constantly holding a device of some sort. So this program is developed around those kinds of devices to integrate technology into the language learning. The other main feature of these courses is to implement and integrate current and topical conversations that exist online and in the classrooms. So we want to make sure that unlike maybe relying on a textbook, these courses are innovative, they're front edge, they're forward thinking, so that the content really is engaging and real. Excuse me. We also recognize that without reaching out and collaborating and leveraging with partners, we're going to remain in a silo, and we really recognize that without transcending those sort of imaginary lines and reaching out and becoming more of a global enterprise, it's really only limiting us and the future opportunities that we have. So I'm going to look a little bit at one of the courses that you may have had some experience with, and that is the Business Administration course, so the English for Business Admin course, which is one of the first courses that were developed in the TEBL initiative. So you'll see that these courses are broken down into units, and the units were actually defined by the Business Administration first year program here at Trent University, which probably represents a typical first year business program in a Canadian university, if not in a North American university, if not perhaps global. So it's really important to recognize that although the theme or the context in which language is being taught, these are really truly language courses. These are English language courses. So the content has that business look and feel because it is all rotating and evolving around business content, but it's really focused on developing that language piece so that, again, it's preparing students for a mobility opportunity. So that might look like a capstone experience right here at Trent's beautiful campus in Peterborough. and these courses serve to prepare students for that experience face-to-face here in Canada. So again, looking at this business course, we're looking at that topical, relevant, current content. In this example, it is a famous economist talking about a book that he has recently published, and that has become globally recognized. So not only does an opportunity to engage in a video and use that as an opportunity for listening and note-taking skills, it's also then going into the vocabulary around that particular lecture, pronunciation and discriminating between different English accents which represent real Englishes. And then going into some of the language in terms of jargon. In this case, we're looking at discussion gambits, where students are developing the ability to engage in a business style conversation or dialogue, and allowing them to use some of the common colloquial tools that we have in the English language in a very business-minded context. So all of these aspects of the lesson both reinforce the business content through the development of the language. Here we're looking at a more simple language skill or component, and that is the development of a simple sentence. So not only do these lessons have the materials in them, but they also are augmented with short videos that really provide the instruction, not to replace the classroom instructor, but really to provide students with another source of support, another source of information that they can actually go back and look at when they're doing their homework at home or in their residence or in the library, and you're not there with them, but these little support videos provide a little bit of a refresher to the students so that they can continue on without getting off track. The TESL English for Professional Development, which is actually the course that we're in right now, again looks at pedagogical content that you as a professional instructor, as a professional language instructor, are really interested in, but also combining that with looking at the actual skills and the actual language and the assessment pieces that really round out your development as an instructor. Again, these are courses that are developed by professionals in English for academic purposes, in English for specific academic purposes, bringing that blended learning to not only mean blending the technology with the face-to-face instruction, but also blending the language development with the actual course content. So as a professional, you will be exposed to things like reflecting on mistakes, because we all make mistakes even when we're professionals, and how to learn from them and to evolve your teaching practice as part of that. And of course, these are augmented by academic articles, journal articles that challenge you as a professional and really encourage you to reflect on your practice and to move your professional development forward. So again, here is another example of an academic article that offers some additional educational theory that helps you in your development as an instructor. And again, I've talked about this a little bit already, but because we're using the blend or the integration of technology with the face-to-face instructor, you are still the center of the classroom. You are still facilitating the progression of this course. However, you have the enhancement from technology to provide interactive lessons, to provide current content, to customize it to the context. Maybe there are things that are coming up locally for you that you can draw into your lessons, still maintaining the context and the theme of the course, but to draw in that local element really enriches what you're bringing to your students. The format is, of course, inherent to the digital generation. It's where they want to be. They want to be using their devices. They want their devices to actually connect what you're bringing to them as an instructor with what they're learning. So not only are they learning language, but they're also learning the academic skills that they will need to be successful in the university context as undergraduate or graduate students. So to distinguish between what TEBAL offers and what it does not offer, it isn't a MOOC. It isn't a self-directed online language program. It isn't regimented. It is not rigid. It is not one-dimensional. What TEBAL is a blended language program centered on classroom instruction and you as a qualified instructor. You are central to the instruction, to the delivery, and to the assessment and the evaluation. So again, pieces that don't happen necessarily in front of the students, but that is already incorporated into the program, and you are the lead hand on that. It's completely flexible so that it meets the needs of your institution. You will determine how you roll out the program. You determine the number of hours per week, the number of hours per day, the number of weeks of duration for the course. There's quite a lot of content in each of these courses, so you will be able to customize, to tailor it to the needs of the program that you're offering at your university. And then the third piece is that it's really a way to deepen the institutional partnership between Trent University and your school, and to look at other ways to collaborate as institutions. So as an instructor, why would it be valuable for you to consider TEBAL and being a partner with Trent University? And really, I've talked about this a little bit, but through TEBAL, that MOU really becomes the gateway to teaching collaborations. So it provides a practical element for that collaboration. It begins that relationship. So maybe the language program is where our universities begin working together, but it can evolve into academic programs. It can evolve into mobility programs. There's an endless number of possibilities where this can go, and really the conversation is between us, and we decide where we want to take it, and we decide how we want to explore the possibilities. But really, as a teacher, you're bringing in a program that's enhancing the language instruction that's offered in your university by giving you that connection to another university as colleagues, that we can talk about the things that are happening in your classroom, and we can compare notes, and we can talk about ways to improve what's happening in our classrooms. So together we are stronger, together we are better. And that wraps up the presentation. That ends what I'm talking about with you today. You have my contact information there, and you can see the link to our website where you can watch and learn more about TEBAL, and you can advocate to bring TEBAL to your own institution. Thanks very much. I really enjoyed having the opportunity to talk with you today about TEBAL and about Trent University, and I really hope that the next conversation we have can be face-to-face. Bye for now.